The Jake Asman Show will begin shortly. Thanks to all these great Patreon members who help support the show. Get your super chats ready. Jake will be here in just a moment. If you love the New York Jets, this is the place to be. And now, the Jake Asman Show.
ESPN's Field Yates has a new mock draft out following the first wave of free agency, and the Jets with the 10th pick do something that could split the fan base. We'll talk about that and much more in today's Jake Asman Show. So let's hit it and get it started.
Man, our Jets are primed for a historic season.
Here we go, buddy.
Let's go, baby. Good luck to the Irish, baby. Happy St. Patrick's Day, Jet fans.
Joe Douglas knows what he's doing.
You know what? I should probably mix in a water sip, too, so I got you.
We won too many games. We're not going to get Joe off.
I'm wearing the chain, baby. Last time this was worn, it was you. Oh, you got a TOJ glass there?
Oh, yeah.
So let's go!
Hey, let's go. Salute, deal. I love it.
Let's go, bro.
All right, I'll have a sip of water. Just kidding. Sight. Let's go, ladies.
I don't know what the hell y'all doing. Oh, Tyron Smith gonna be mauling all you motherfuckers in the division next year. Oh.
We bleed Jets green each and every day. This is not the same old Jets. We have Garrett Wilson. Let's go. We have Breece Hall. Please subscribe and hit the like button below. Super Chat, baby. Cut the line. We have Sauce Gardner. We have Quinnen Williams. The Jets bandwagon is loaded. Now it's time to talk all things New York Jets. It's the Jake Asman Show.
Here we go. Here on a Monday. Hope everyone had a great St. Patrick's Day. Welcome in. My name is Jake Asman. You know that because the show is called The Jake Asman Show. Please hit the like button down below. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And I want to thank the audience for making this past weekend one of our most viewed weekends of content that we have ever had in the history of this channel. We will continue to talk Jets each and every day. And coming up later this week, I have a very exciting announcement about what our plans are on this channel for the NFL draft. And speaking of the NFL draft, now with the Jets solidifying, at least in theory, their offensive line, a lot of options present itself for the Jets with the number 10 pick. And look, they might not be done adding to their offensive line as we know, but for right now, from left to right, the New York Jets have Tyron Smith at left tackle, John Simpson at left guard, Joe Tippmann at center, Elijah Vera Tucker at right guard, and Morgan Moses at right tackle. That, at least on paper, is one of the better offensive lines in the league. And to go from an absolute weakness up front to a solid to really good offensive line on paper, Joe Douglas in the front office, they certainly do deserve credit. With that being said, now the attention is going to start to shift to the draft. Of course, we'll be monitoring the Mike Williams visit, Jets meeting with him later today. Jadeveon Clowney, the stud rusher from the Ravens most recently, will be visiting with the team tomorrow. So should anything break there, we'll be live as quickly as possible. So stay tuned for that here on the channel. Sign up for the Patreon and get in the Discord if you want to be notified when we're going live. But the question now becomes, what will the Jets do with the 10th pick in the draft? And I think as we sit here right now, the New York Jets have a plethora of options with that number 10 pick. They could simply stick and pick and take the best player available, BPA. They could go out there and they could trade back and try and recoup some draft capital. They could trade up if there's truly a player they love and feel like that player is a true difference maker. The Jets now have options with that number 10 pick, and it felt like they really didn't have that many options before they solidified their offensive line. So on one hand, it's exciting. On the other hand, that sets the Jets up for people to second guess and criticize, and that's the nature of the NFL draft in a nutshell. So I was listening to Mel Kiper and Field Yates on their first draft podcast earlier this morning, and Field released a top 15 mock draft, and with the 10th pick in the draft, he originally had the New York Jets selecting Olu Fashanu, the tackle from Penn State. But then the Jets signed Tyron Smith, and Field adjusted his mock on the fly. So take a listen if you missed it. Here's Field Yates on the right and Mel Kiper on the left. Their voices discussing the Jets' options with the number 10 pick.
I think the Jets are going to say we need to fill our needs. And I think there's a play with fire mentality to that because of the fact that you mentioned the durability for Tyron Smith. The guy's 33 years old. There's a reason why prior to last season, the Cowboys made him restructure his contract. There's a reason why Tyron Smith's deal can be worth up to $20 million, but I think the base value is something like $7.5 million. I mean, when you got $12.5 million available in incentives, Mel, the team is telling us that, yeah, if he plays and plays at a high level, we believe he's worth it, but we're not totally certain that he will play. So I still would think long and hard about Olu Fashanu. I'm also convinced of this. More GMs and head coaches are aware of their own future. And if the Jets don't win big this year, with Aaron Rodgers as their quarterback, and they have a year record-wise that is similar to last year, even with Aaron being injured last season, it might mean Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh are on the hot seat. And so sometimes GMs and coaches act with more urgency than they would like to in an all things being equal scenario.
No question. They're on the hot seat. GM, head coach. They got to win. Aaron Rodgers needs a weapon like Brock Bowers as well, Field, because you got Garrett Wilson needs somebody to help him out. And Brock Bowers, to me, is the all-around weapon who you can move anywhere you want on a football field. So now you hope, keep those fingers crossed, that those linemen can stay healthy. Because if they do, you have solidified the line. To your point about Fashanu or J.C. Latham, that's the security blanket. In case somebody's hurt, you can develop them, and you can have them in there and move in and feel pretty good about it if your starter gets injured. So, again, they have not had good luck on the injury front. Hopefully they will this year. Aaron Rodgers being the key guy, keep him healthy from day one. The offensive line right now looks good on paper, good enough on paper, so they can audibilize and take Brock Bowers, the all-around weapon, out of Georgia.
Just to be clear, if I had the opportunity, or if the editors had asked us to do another edition of this after the Tyron Smith trade, signing, I would have given them Brock Bowers just because it seems to me that with the offensive line in a place where they appear to be comfortable, it's time to add more weapons because it's Garrett Wilson and who else that scares you, at least amongst the tight ends and wide receivers. I would not be surprised, by the way, if the Jets continue to look at veteran offensive tackles to pad the depth behind Morgan Moses, who's an Iron Man, and Tyron Smith, who of late has not been exactly that.
Look, here's the bottom line. If the Jets sign Mike Williams, I think it's more likely that they would take Bowers at 10. If the Jets don't have that true number 2 receiver locked in, I could see them straight up just going wide receiver at 10. And then there's the debate, well, if Rome Odunze's there and Brock Bowers is there, who would they take? And I think they would still probably lead with the receiver in this scenario. So much of it's tough to project because I don't know who's going in front of the Jets with the first 9 picks. Right? It's easy for me to sit here and say they signed Mike Williams, so then that means they take Brock Bowers at 10, but what if they have a higher grade on Odunze than Bowers? Then they could still take Odunze. If they don't sign Mike Williams, and let's say they only sign like a wide receiver 3, like an Odell Beckham or a Tyler Boyd, then I don't know if that means they're definitely going to go Bowers. I do agree with their point that, the Jets, because Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh are on the hot seat, are probably more likely to go need-based than necessarily like BPA. Like, I don't think we're going to have the Will McDonald luxury pick this time around. They can't afford to do it. But it's a fascinating conversation now with the Jets because they really do have a plethora of options. So it's exciting because, really, if they take Bowers, we can't sit here and say it's a bad pick. If they take a receiver, we can't sit here and say it's a bad pick. If they take an offensive lineman, we can't say it's a bad pick. There'll be people in the fan base that won't be happy with it, but for every fan who's unhappy with what they do, there'll be plenty of fans that are happy with what they do. And that's the unique situation they find themselves in. Now, my preference remains, if Rome Odunze is there, you could just take him. If Talise Fulaga or Olu Fashanu is there, you could just take him. If Joe Alt is there, obviously I'm cool with the Jets just taking him. I'd like to see the Jets trade back, though, and still end up taking either an offensive lineman or a receiver. I'm not going to sit there and say Bowers would be a bad pick. I'd prefer in a trade down rather than straight up at 10. But if the Jets trade back and they trade Troy Fontanu, who has tackle and guard positional flexibility, or they trade back and they take Talise Fuaga, who's got tackle and guard positional flexibility, how are you not a better team, especially if you get a second-round pick in a trade back? Even if you only get a third-round pick in a trade back. The Jets would be putting themselves in a spot where they could address wide receiver either in that second round or third round. Or maybe you package both your third round picks to get back into the second round so you could draft Roman Wilson. So you could draft Troy Franklin. So you could draft. I mean, the list of receivers is endless that I'd be really satisfied with from a Jet fan perspective. So I'm not anti-Bowers. I just think there's better use of resources that they could do than potentially taking the tight end. But I'll be the first to admit, if they sign Mike Williams, I do think the odds of Bowers goes up. Because the Jets will look at it like, all right, well, we have Rodgers back. We have Garrett Wilson. We have Mike Williams. If we were to be in 12 personnel, or we wanted to use, 22 personnel, which would be 2 tight ends on the field, Conklin and Bowers with Williams and Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall out of the backfield, that's nasty. So I see the appeal. I just think if I'm the Jets, I think best case scenario is you try and get out of 10, but I'd be the first to acknowledge that, just because we say trade back, that doesn't mean there's a trade offer on the table you want to take. You need teams to want to come up. It's interesting. I saw in a couple mocks, Bo Nix was mocked in the teens. I don't know the validity to that one. It does feel like J.J. McCarthy's not making it, past like the first 7 picks, let's say. So there is a chance that Rome Odunze is there at number 10. And then I think you pick him, you call it a day, and you draft an offensive lineman in the third round. And at that point, who knows? Maybe the Jets have added to their tackle depth. You heard Field at the end there say he expects the Jets to continue to add to their O-line. We all bring up Bakhtiari, but how about Donovan Smith? He was good enough to start for the Kansas City Chiefs at left tackle. On the Jets, he'd be their swing tackle. Him and Carter Ward. Not too shabby. Long Island guy, maybe would cut you, reasonable discount, all things considered. Not a discount necessarily, but, the Jets might be able to win that tiebreaker because of his connection to the organization and the fact you have Aaron Rodgers. So we'll see. But I think the Jets could do a bunch of different things, and a lot of people in the fan base will be on board with it. Whereas before the Tyron Smith and Morgan Moses moves, it was basically like you can't afford to do anything but take a tackle. Now I can argue they could go receiver. Honestly, I could argue the Jets should just take Brian Thomas Jr. at 10 if you like him that much. See, here's the thing. The order of how we view the receivers is oftentimes not how NFL teams view the same players. And I think the best example of this is I'm seeing now stuff this morning about how Malik Neighbors is considered the best receiver in the class, not Marvin Harrison Jr. Daniel Jeremiah said he spoke with teams that have Neighbors as the number 1 guy. For months, it was Marvin Harrison Jr. no matter what. Now, you see how it starts to change a little bit? J.J. McCarthy's the 3rd best quarterback, according to some NFL teams. It's no longer just Caleb. Then you would have like the debate between like Drake May versus Jaden Daniels. Now it's like Caleb, Daniels, or McCarthy. And now is Drake May in some people's boards the number 4 quarterback? Like, this stuff changes a lot. So I think the Jets are in a really good spot. I think for them to truly maximize the opportunity they have here, I think a trade back would be best case scenario. Trade back where you get a second-round pick. Now, if that offer doesn't exist and you don't want to move back too many spots, you could stick a pick at 10. If they took Olu Fashanu, I would not complain. Tyron Smith's missing time. Morgan Moses and Tyron Smith are on 1-year deals. Go get your left tackle of the future and cover yourself if, God forbid, there's injuries. Do they need more weapons? Sure. But, Aaron Rodgers will make your current weapons better. And I think with that 3rd-round pick, you could add a weapon. You can get a starting caliber player in the 3rd round of this draft. So they have options. And I think the best way to kind of maximize this opportunity they have with this number 10 pick is perhaps a trade down. If they can't trade down, I'd look at offensive line at 10, or I'd look at a receiver at 10 before I personally would go with Bowers. But I understand that, Bowers does have his, portion of fans in the fan base that love the guy. I get it. But I think the Jets are in a pretty good spot. Let's open it up now to your comments and questions. Super chats will cut the line. Make sure if you're an Asmaniac that you sign up for our Bracket Madness Challenge. We're giving away Jets merchandise. We're giving away Patreon subscriptions for the year, Copper John's gift cards, Gustbuster umbrellas with your name in the handle. We got prizes for first, second, and third place. To join the Bracket Challenge, you have to either be a Patreon member or an Asmaniac, and you can become an Asmaniac by hitting the join button, or someone makes it rain during the show and will gift memberships to people for one full month. That full month means you qualify to be in our bracket challenge. The brackets are out. Fill yours out. You could do so by becoming, once again, a Patreon member at patreon.com/Jake Asman Show, or by hitting the join button on the left-hand side and becoming an Asmaniac. So here we go. Comments, questions, calls as well. Super chats cut the line. So we start with Michael, who says trade back, get more picks. I'm team trade back. I've been team trade back for a while now. I hear how great this offensive line class is. Trade back, get more picks. I think that's practical. That being said, if Rome Odunze's there at 10, you just take him. I don't know if we'll be there at 10. I think it's possible, but I think trading back, and if you could come away with Fulaga or Fontanu in a trade back, Joe Douglas would have crushed it. JR Jet's been a channel member for 6 months. What's up, Jake? Keep popping. Wow. C. Carton keeps saying it's the fans that want AR to just shut up and ball, but he cannot keep Aaron Rodgers' name out of his mouth. Yeah, I'm not going to comment on anything that a different talk show host says on his respective show. What I would say is this vice president nonsense was nonsense, and if you took the bait, you did exactly what all these shows wanted you to do. Because it was never happening. It was a waste of energy. And the only time I addressed it on this show was to make fun of how silly the whole thing was. Drew writes in, if we don't get a legit wide receiver 2 in free agency, we'll need to take the best available wide receiver, Odunze or Thomas. But if we get Williams, the pick has to be Bowers. I think the pick should be trade back if you get Mike Williams. Trade back, and then, by the way, you could still take Brian Thomas in a trade back. He's probably still there. You don't have a second-round pick. I think the Jets would like to do everything possible to get that second-round pick. Let's get to some calls right now. Appreciate everyone that's tuned in today. Please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Let's go to Phil, who's first up. What's up, Phil?
Yes, first in line. I'm very happy. What's up, Jake?
Welcome aboard, man.
Yeah, a couple of things. I hope we're still drinking from the other night. That was amazing. But yeah, a couple of things. First, I'll touch on real fast the number 10 come back. I think Patrick Paul's in play. That's someone that he spoke with in short a lot at the Reese's Bowl, that Senior Bowl. He's in play. If we trade back, grabbing him, I don't know, 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th at tackle. I think that to me it feels like the Elijah Vera Tucker year with Elijah Moore in the second round. Come back. If he can get a third from trading back, he could package a third and a fourth to grab a second, maybe. That would be, that's overcompensating probably to get back in. And second of all, I want to cover real fast with you. I just found out yesterday my fiance's coworker, his cousin is John Simpson. So
your fiance's coworker is John Simpson.
No, cousin is John Simpson.
Okay.
So I don't know if there's any way I can finagle him to talk to you to get on the show. I don't know how we can make it happen, but I'm in Carolina. He's in South Carolina. He's a Charleston boy. I don't know how I can get him to communicate with you, or what do you do to get somebody on your channel? But I think that would be pretty freaking sick.
And I'd love to have him. You let me know.
Yeah, figure that out. That would be amazing because he's a mauler, and I think I'm trying to communicate with him at some point. So I'll let you know on the channel.
I appreciate it, Phil.
Definitely.
Phil.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for the call, my man.
You got it, man.
Ladies and gentlemen, Philly Noodles, the great Phil, first up on the show. VR writes in, what position is the deepest in this draft? I think it's tackle, and I think it's receiver. I think receiver is deeper than tackle. See, where the difference between receiver and tackle in this draft is I think you could get a starting level receiver in round 3, whereas I think it dries out in like round 2 for the tackles. Big fella says we need Todd McShay back. Field talking both sides. I miss Todd McShay. He's on Ryan Russillo's podcast frequently, so you could hear him there. Doug on the couch up next. Hello, Douglas.
Jake, sorry I wasn't able to call in the other night. I was out of town at a wedding, so I was not.
Wow, you left the couch.
Yeah, I did leave the couch. So here's my tinfoil hat theory. I think we're going to sign Williams. I also think we're going to sign Clowney, who's in tomorrow, but that doesn't have anything to do with this. Then here's what I think is going to happen. I think the Vikings are going to trade up to 4 with the Cardinals so they can take J.J. McCarthy ahead of the Giants because that's where a lot of the smoke is. And the Giants are like, well, we don't really want to take Penix or anyone else here. Then at 5, the Chargers are going to just take the best cute wide receiver. I know you want to trade out back, but at 6, the Giants don't want a wide receiver. Trade up with the Giants and take either Neighbors or Harrison, whichever one's left. That's my tinfoil hat theory.
Say your tinfoil hat theory again.
So I think the first 3 are obviously going to be quarterbacks.
Yes.
The Vikings just added more ammo to trade up. I think they can trade up to 4 with the Cardinals so they can leapfrog the Giants because there's a lot of smoke that the Giants want J.J. McCarthy.
Well, I think they need to get to maybe 5 with the Chargers if they're going to leapfrog the Giants.
No, yeah, I said they're going to trade up with 4 with the Cardinals. 4 or 5, whichever one. And then they're going to take – so they say they go to 4 and they take J.J. McCarthy.
Yes.
Then I think the Chargers would just take whichever receiver they prefer of Neighbors and MHJ. And what the Jets should do, I know you want to trade back, trade up with the Giants and just take the next best receiver of Neighbors and MHJ.
Well, it depends what the cost would be to do that.
If you do it like the first and like say next year's second.
Yeah, I mean, if you can get me Neighbors, I would trade next year's 2 to move up from 10 to 6.
I don't think that's happening. That's just a tinfoil hat theory of what could happen. But I do think the Vikings are going to try and trade up to get in front of the Giants.
I think the Vikings are trading up to get a quarterback, and it would make sense that they would try and get in front of the Giants at 6 because the Giants are linked to McCarthy.
Yeah, then your options are Arizona or the Chargers. I don't know how locked in Arizona is to say. No, I think Arizona would be the more likely trade candidate from what I'm getting because the Chargers desperately need a receiver.
They do, but I don't think the Jets would be trading up that high. I think the Jets would maybe go from like 10 to 8. I think it's going to cost them a lot to go from 10 to 6, and they're not going to do it. But, I mean, it's the draft, man. Crazy things happen. More calls right now. Let's go to Connor. Hello, Connor.
Hey, Jake. How you doing?
Wow, look at that man cave. It's all coming together. Now we have Wesley Walker on the wall. It's all happening.
Yeah, I finally finished putting. We got Wesley Walker, and then we got the Sack Exchange photo up too, the signed photo from the guys in the Sack Exchange. So it's all coming together. I see Alan in the chat. No school. I'm on spring break. 2-week spring break starts today.
2 weeks.
2 weeks, yeah. It'll be a nice break from school. Get more invested into Jets and look at more film for the draft. But going into the draft and guys for the Jets to kind of target. I've been talking about it with Boy Green. I really like Romo Dunze. He's now like we can't stop. I agree with what everyone's saying. We can't stop building this offensive line. But Romo Dunze is my number one option. I trade up 2 picks, 1 pick. I trade up 1-2 picks to get Romo Dunze 100% just because I think he's very solid, and according to like the draft value chart, we'd be overpaying if we did a late 4th to move up 1 pick for Romo Dunze. And I think if he's at 9, the Bears are going to take him. I really like him. The wide receivers, I also like Adonai Mitchell. I really like him. I think he's solid. That would be a trade back type of guy. Same with Brian Thomas Jr. And then Troy Fautanu, if we were to build the offensive line and trade back, I like that. A scenario that I wouldn't like that some people might come at me for, honestly, at this point, I would be upset with Fuaga at 10 just because we have this offensive line built, and if Fashanu's not there, I think we just need to trade back.
What if they think Fuaga is their best lineman on their board? They like him better than Fashanu.
if it was at 10, I'd be a little upset with that pick personally. I would rather trade back and get Fatanu than have Fuaga at 10, but I really don't know what's going through Joe Douglas's mind. But going to the guys who are visiting, Nick Shine last night on his show from Proud New York Jet Fans said that a source told him that the deal was already done with Williams for 2 years, $25 million, pending a physical. So I heard Johnny was calling on to Jets media earlier, right before your show, and he said that. So I texted one of my sources immediately right away to see if he can confirm that, because I don't know if I 100% believe that, but I hope Williams signs. And I agree with what you said earlier in the show. If Williams signs, I think we do need to trade back. I really do. But have a great rest of your day. Thank you for taking my call.
Connor, enjoy spring break. 2 weeks of no school. Here's what I would say about the Williams stuff. He does not have a deal with the Jets yet. All right. I think these people that claim to have sources, I think what happens is people make educated guesses on Twitter, and then they're like, see, I had it. It's like you're just connecting the dots, and there's a high percentage chance you'll be right. Now, I didn't hear what Nick said, but that's just my experience when people claim to have sources. All right. That all being said, I do think there's a strong chance they end up signing Mike Williams. But we know he's taking another visit with Carolina tomorrow. We know he's visiting with Pittsburgh later this week. So the deal might not be consummated today. But I think if the money's close, the Jets will likely get him. $27 million over 2 years, though, seems steep for a guy who's coming off an ACL injury in week 3 last year. Seems like a lot of money. I think Mike Williams would get a 1-year deal from the Jets, but we'll see. Ray Danger's got a super chat for us. Chris Sims' top 5 wide receiver list came out today. He's got Roman Wilson at number 5. I could see a scenario where the Jets could grab him in a trade back. He's probably a second-round pick. So you would need to get a trade back and get a 2. And then this is what I'm talking about. If you have a second-round pick, you could take a receiver in the second round. And by the way, you could go BPA in the 3rd round, which could include another receiver because it's such a deep receiver class. You sign Mike Williams, if the Jets go O-line round 1, and then they go receiver round 2, round 3, is anyone going to complain that they're addressing the offense? Really? No. More calls right now. NY Jets, Florida. What's up, NY?
Hey, Jake. Good afternoon. Trying to dodge some rain here in Florida for once we get some rain. The last caller, Connor, man, that guy drops a lot of names, man. That guy's definitely got himself some contacts going on there for a young broadcaster.
I think he just sits home all day and just watches every Jet show on the internet, and just he's got an encyclopedia of a mind.
He does, actually. I'm on the Brock Bowers bandwagon to a point. I really don't think Odunze is going to be there because I really think he could be 1 or 2 on some teams' boards. If you get a chance, Jake, take a look at the Oregon-Washington first game. It was like, I'm talking big boy football. Penix, Bo Nix was slinging it, Penix, just a high-level, great game. If you get a chance to watch it, you could really see Bo Nix when he came from Auburn. He really, showed himself at Oregon. He really developed and got, he's a little bit older. Sorry. But, the trade down scenarios are always good if you have a partner, but I don't know if we're going to have one, like you mentioned. But let me ask you one question. Can you name me how many elite tight ends there are in the NFL? I can name a few. Kelsey, maybe Andrews. You got any more there?
Kittle, Laporta.
Laporta, I don't know. I don't even know if Kittle's elite. They're excellent. But like Kelsey to me is elite. Okay, if you want to put those 4. So if you have the opportunity to separate yourself from, those 4 teams that have, say, elite tight ends, you can get one yourself. Because I think he's definitely at the Kittle level or above. I'm not going to say he's Kelsey.
How do we know he's better? He's that good? Seriously.
Nobody, Jake. Well, we drafted Zach Wilson. How do we know he was good? You know what I mean? We drafted Sam Darnold. I saw his pro day. Sam Darnold was lighting it up in a rainstorm. I mean, that guy was throwing dimes, and I'm like, that's our quarterback. And look what happened.
Yeah.
So you never know. You do never know. I mean, honestly,
quarterback's more of a crapshoot than any other position in the draft, though. Like specifically, when you evaluate a tight end versus a running back, the bust rate for a tight end that high is infinitely higher than it is for a receiver that high. That's why I feel more comfortable if a Dunze is there taking him, or Brian Thomas is there, or honestly, just trading back and getting more dart throws by getting extra picks.
if you can get a partner. But let me say this. How many, you look at the more recent offensive linemen who busted, you can name, Neal, Becton. There's so many of these guys that bust now too. So I'm willing to take my chances with that guy. There's so much tape on that guy. Like I said on every call, I can keep repeating myself. He's an elite player. And you don't, like you said, there's only a handful of elite tight ends in the NFL.
Yeah, I'm wary of the Jets being the team to get it right with their evaluation of these tight ends. Why don't they trade down and take Bowers? All right, like Bowers wasn't even in the top 15 in Field Yates' mock that I'm referring to at the beginning of the show. I'd wait on Bowers and see if I could get him in a trade back. Revinto says, what are the odds we actually get Jadeveon Clowney? I think if the Jets want him, they're strong. They offer him an opportunity to play in a really good scheme that fits him. I think the Jets are probably going to pay him among the most money on a one-year deal. Edwards, super chat, cuts the line. How can the Jets get rid of Zach's $11 million cap hit? They trade him. Who would want him, though? I think the Jets are going to end up having to cut Zach Wilson because I don't think they can get anything for him. And you can't blame the Jets for this one, Wilson Truthers. There's 31 other teams that are telling you they think he sucks. So if all these other teams love Zach and want to make sweet and passionate love to him, how come he's still a Jet? Explain that one to me. And I hope they could trade him. But I don't see it. Gary's up next. Hello, Gary.
What's going on, Jake? First, I want to give my condolences. I know some of y'all are St. John's fans. That's a crime in Italy right there. That's insane that they didn't get in. Highest rated team to ever not get in according to their net rating system. They got a better resume than Texas. Texas got a 7 seed.
Well,
so
think
I
about
want to give
it. Only 3 Big East teams getting in, and it was arguably the best league in the country. How does that make any sense?
Texas got a better seeding than TCU, and TCU had a better record, more wins, and a better conference record. Nothing they did made sense yesterday. But, hey, at least we got the 7th seed. We're probably going to play Virginia in the first round. So it worked out for Texas, but none of that made sense. If Texas wins the tournament, I think I'm going to win your bracket. I think I'm going to win your pool. I don't think anyone else picked them to win. But so the way I see this draft.
But who does Jameis Winston have winning the whole thing, Gary?
If he plays with Florida State, 100%. Did Florida State make a tournament? I don't even know.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. So through the first 9 picks, I think there's going to be 4 quarterbacks, 3 receivers, Alt, and Dallas Turner, which would leave us with either one of the other tackles or Bowers. You already know who I want to take, right? But do you think that's fair? You got the 3 receivers and the 4 quarterbacks, Alt and Turner, gone in the top 9 in some order. Those are the first 9 guys off the board.
Yeah, I also do think, though, that there could be a surprise in there, and that allows like a Dunze to be there at 10.
If a Dunze is there at 10, then you have a really good problem, right? I mean,
are we sure the Bears aren't going to go defensive player at 9? Like everyone's linking them to a receiver, but like there's a very good chance they take a defensive player there too.
Dallas Turner, like
yeah,
I don't see him lasting. If that's possible,
Jared Verse could be in the top 10. Like crazy things happen, man. Teams might evaluate these defensive players higher on their board than some of the offensive players. That we don't know.
And the person who referenced Chris Sims before, Chris Sims big board, Chris Sims lost to Oklahoma 14-3 and threw no touchdowns and 4 interceptions and 150 yards against the Oklahoma Sooners in 2001. I don't ever want to hear his name ever again. I don't ever want to hear Chris Sims ever again. No one mentioned his name. He's the worst Longhorn ever. But I wanted to ask you, is it Bowers? Do you just not want a tight end, or do you just think he's overrated?
I think the idea that he's generational and he's a lock to be great, like history is not on your side if that's your argument. Like I went through the list of first round tight ends in the last 20 years, and most of them didn't even get through their rookie contracts. They were traded or they were cut. They were on a different team by the time their rookie deal ended.
Okay, so I mean, all right.
I would feel better about Bowers if they traded back and then took him. So at least they would have, in theory, an extra top 100 pick to address either receiver or offensive line with that pick.
Okay. I mean, if Adunze's there, I think it's a really good problem to have. I don't think you can go wrong with either one. I would probably take Adunze just because he's a 6'4" playmaker. We don't have anything like that.
He had like 1,600 receiving yards last year.
Bowers is, I mean, Adunze, I think, is the best playmaker in the draft. Like big play home run hitter. I would have no problem. I would love to have him. And the last thing, these quarterbacks, like JJ McCarthy is now the third best quarterback. I don't understand. And the other caller touched on his pro day. I don't care what he does in his pro day. Like it's irrelevant to me. Like, how does JJ McCarthy and Bo Nix, after all their games are done, they haven't played a game in 2 months. Well, McCarthy's played more recently, but he hasn't played a game in over a month. Why would their stock all of a sudden go up? When you see people's stocks all of a sudden go up, they're Zach Wilson, they're what was the quarterback from Central Florida that the Jaguars picked like 2 overall, like in 2012?
Blake Bortles?
Blake Bortles. Like they never turn out good. When you see quarterbacks shoot up the charts way after they played their last game, they never turn out well. It never turns out good because everything they put on tape tells you they're no good. But then they do good in their pro day. And I was like, okay, let's take them 2 overall. It's insane.
Well, there's some examples of this. Like Baker Mayfield wasn't thought to be the number 1 pick in the draft. He skyrocketed up. So it does happen. I'm not going to sit here and tell you Baker Mayfield's been, great, but he's a solid NFL quarterback, I think we could say. I mean, look, every draft is different. I like Brock Bowers. I don't like the Jets being the team to take him. That's kind of that's kind of where I'm at. To me, the Jets need a safer pick and an all-in year. Patreon.com/Jake Asman Show. Patreon members, make sure you guys sign up for the Bracket Madness. If you're an Asmaniac, you could play as well. I posted the link in the members only post area of my YouTube page. So that pops up. Go to the community tab and you can see the link to join the bracket challenge. I think we got over 100 people already in last I checked a couple hours ago. So plenty more to come. Check it out. We got a bunch of great prizes. It's free to enter if you're an Asmaniac or on Patreon. More calls right now. Lionel is up next on our show. Hello, Lionel.
Jake, what's up, brother?
Hey, what's up, man?
Hey, listen, I have actually a little bit of, it's unrelated, but I think I have a theory. I came up with a theory. Every time I go with my wife to the casino, right, I always end up losing money because as soon as I'm about to put some extra chips on my blackjack table or something like that, she's always like, no, don't do that. That's too much. That's too much. I feel like that was Rex Hogan to JD. I think he's the one that was holding him back, telling him, stick to your price, do this, do that, because now we can finally see him. He's being himself. He's being free. He's going after elite prospects like Tyron Smith. He's going after all these guys that we thought we had no chance. And I think he's free now. I think we finally get to see JD at his best. I think Rex Rowan was kind of handicapping him.
I mean, look, maybe I can't sit there and say it's completely wrong, but I mean, if the Jets signed Mike Williams and Jadeveon Clowney, maybe there's more to that. But it's not like they made a crazy offer to Tyron Smith. We learned that they got him because
I mean, we still haven't seen the details, right?
Well, it was 6.5 million guaranteed and 13.5 million in incentives. That's how they were able to get him. The Tyron Smith market didn't materialize because he's missed so much time the last 4 years.
That's true. I mean, yeah, if they get Mike Williams, I think I'm 100% on that theory, man.
Look, I didn't mind Hogan leaving and the Jets maybe getting some new voices in the year of Joe Douglas. And to me, when people were talking about, oh, look at all the coaches that left. I mean, really? We're going to be upset over the running back coach and the receiver coach leaving? Like, they were objectively bad. They were not prepared. There were too many penalties. And also, let's not sit here and pretend like there's a good reason they probably were let go is because they were leaks in the building too. I mean, I'm sure those people were running their mouth to the media.
Yeah, and also I think Salah is getting involved for sure. I think he's moved on to the offensive side of the ball, which is great to see.
I hope
think
so, Lionel.
Yeah. Hey, Jake, thank you, brother. Take care, man.
Hey, nice Jet helmet there on the desk.
Oh, yeah, always. Got to wrap it, man.
Love that. Love that. Good call, Lionel. Appreciate that. Eric says Bowers is a media curation. See, that's where I'll draw the line. I understand the appeal of Brock Bowers. Watch his highlights. You can see why people think he's an elite draft prospect. I'm just weary of the Jets taking a tight end that high. I just am. Let's go to Neil. He's up next on the show. What's up, Neil?
Here I am, the draft expert. I've just become a draft expert now.
Are you studying film, Neil? You're locked in?
Studying. Oh, yeah. I'm out there studying, boy. Ooh-wee. I love your Bowers thing because, like you said, there's no tight ends that ever pan out that are drafted in the first round. They suck. But I will say this. I don't like Roma Dunze either. I saw a very little bit of him. And what I saw, I wasn't that impressed.
What did you watch? He had the most receiving yards in college last year.
Yeah, but I saw some game that he dropped. I don't know. I saw something I didn't like. Okay, but let's just be realistic here. The draft is a crapshoot. Okay, and I am 1,000% unless Bashana was there at 10, and I don't even believe that because again. You got Fuaga, Fontenot, Mims. You know, this guy Latham on when you pick an Alabama guy, you know he's pro ready, number one. The guy's 6'6", 342, and he ran a 4.840. Okay. He's not Becton. Okay. This guy could move. So what I'm trying to say is Guyton, Powers Johnson, which I talked about. I like him. You know,
trade back. You're saying trade back. I'm with you.
Oh, forget it. You gotta trade. I don't even mind trading back to 18 or 19. I think it's going to take that number to get a second rounder, you know, for sure. So now you trade back to 18. You got plenty of linemen that are, you know, you're crap shooting with anyone. There's not one that stands out. The only guy that's standing out on the line is all. Everybody else is kind of in the middle of the pack. You don't know what you have. And now that we don't need them to start, even better that we could develop a guy that they think is going to be somebody that could plug in next year, okay? Same thing with receiver, okay? The receiver I liked the most, I saw a lot of, is this guy Ricky Pearsall, and I looked at some draft board. He's like number 57 in talent on the draft board. And you could get a guy like that in the third round possibly. So what, you know, is there that much of a difference between a Dunze and a guy like Pearsall? Maybe there's not that much of a difference. So what I'm saying is I want to go 17, 18, pick up a second rounder. All the first and second round guys are in a bunch. So we take at 17, if Bowers is at 17 or 18, I'll grab him at that number. Only because Rodgers, when he does the tight ends like Tunyon, oh my God, he would have a field day with this guy Bowers. Well, and you can move him to the outside. By the way,
yes, but that's why they don't necessarily need to take Bowers because I think Conklin will go off with Rodgers throwing him the ball.
Yeah, but you could line Bowers up on the outside. He had the same 40 speed as Dunze.
Yeah.
So you could line him up on the outside too. He could play anywhere. Plus, he could play that halfback role. He's going to be a better blocker. I mean, look at what the 49er tight end, what's his name?
Kittle.
He's one of the best blockers in the game. Okay? This guy Bowers could block. It's another guy that can open up a lane. It's another guy, you know, receivers are sitting on the outside. They're not going to be a major factor in the running game. You know, a guy like Bowers, you put him in the slot. You move him inside. You got flexibility. But again, I don't want him in the top 10. I don't want him take him at 18 if he's there. And I have a feeling he'll be there because just what you're saying, every other team feels the same way. Kyle Pitts was the last guy they picked in the top 10, and he's not that great. He hasn't even made an impression.
He's fine. Yeah. To me, if you're going to take Bowers, the only way I would be like, I get it, is if, as you said, and I'm saying, it's a trade down first.
Jake, I've made all 13 of my points. Before you cut me off again, I'm going to throw myself out this goddamn window.
Ladies and gentlemen, good call from Neil. It's time to sing along.
It's time for another V-Man call. Hopefully he not sleeping. Adios mio.
We go live to V-Man from the kitchen where he's enjoying some lunch. Hello, V-Man.
Hey Jake, how you doing? How was your St. Patrick's Day?
It was good, V-Man. How was yours?
Yeah, I was working. Did you spend any time in any Irish pubs?
I spent some time at a bar, but it was not technically an Irish pub.
You hear anybody speak Irish?
Not to my recollection, no.
I bet people are surprised that Irish is even a language in the chat.
V-Man, you're one of a kind.
Yeah, no, but nah. I saw them look at the draft. I agree with your take on Bowers. It's like first round tight ends. It's like they're always overhyped. They're like this next great talent thing, and then somebody gets picked in the 4th round that's 3 times better. It's how it always goes. It's just how it always turns out with these tight ends.
The best tight ends in the NFL were not drafted in the 1st round. Like, why is that? And the Jets are going to be the outlier. That's why it's like, can we just trade back, take the best offensive lineman or receiver call today? Like, here we go.
Honestly, I would
round tight ends. First round tight ends rookie outcomes since 2011. Kyle Pitts still on his rookie contract on the team that drafted him. TJ Hawkinson got traded. Eric Ebron's contract got terminated. OJ Howard's contract expired. Noah Fant got traded. Tyler Eifert's expired. Evan Ingram expired. Dalton Kincaid active. Hayden Hurst traded. David Njoku extended. These are first round tight ends since 2011. It's not exactly a great list there.
Exactly. It's like, this is a year of the Jets. This is an all-in year. So why are you going to take a gamble on a position that historically first-round guys have not panned out? I mean, you got to go for something more sure. I want the wide receiver right now. I'm feeling wide receiver with this pick. You know, you need that. Because as much as maybe you get Mike Williams, what is he going to be at this state? How is he going to recover from his injury? I feel more confident you're getting a young stud in the draft that that you can rely on to line up opposite of Garrett Wilson, him up so that he can do his thing, and that's going to make this team a lot more successful. And the more successful this team is, the better shot we have of winning this division.
That's the end of that V-Man call. Now he can go back to sleeping.
Now he can go back to his lunch. All right, here we go. Top right. You see it. All right, I'm going to move my logo out of the way here so we can go through this chart together. This is every tight end in the NFL drafted in the 1st round since 2011. What happened with their rookie contract? This is my argument on why I would not take Bowers at 10. And you could say, Jake, he's better than all those guys. Great. I'd rather take a more surefire position in the top 10 of the 1st round. Get me the best offensive lineman, get me the best receiver. And if I can move back and get one of those positions, even better. If I can move back and get Fuaga, if I can move back and get Troy Fontano, if I can move back and get Brian Thomas, if I can move back and get whoever you deem as a 1st round guy, I think it's a better use of resources. I mean, this list is brutal here, folks. This dates back to 2011. And Pitts has been okay on the Falcons. I know he hasn't had good quarterback play, but still, if you're taking a tight end in the top 5, that guy's got to be dynamic, and he's been okay. I think this list says a lot. But Yeah, this fan base loves Bowers. I get it. NY Jets situation report. Thank you, Jake. The hype for Bowers is crazy. He's an undersized tight end that racked hip highlights on mismatches in college. NFL linebackers and safeties. I do think it's a huge risk, Cody. Good to hear from you, my man. What I hope happens is Adunze is there at 10 and it's like an easy choice. Or the Jets love Fashanu. He's there. You take him. Jay writes in, what is the Jets' best disposition of Zach given the cap impact and they can't trade him, which looks highly unlikely? Jay, I think they cut him and they deal with the dead cap hit for 1 year. It is what it is. Give credit to the Jets. They saved $8.1 million by cutting Lake and Tomlinson. They're going to spend $8.71 million in cap space on Morgan Moses and John Simpson. So they replaced Lakin's $8.1 million cap hit with two better players that are starting for them on their O-line in Moses and Simpson. Bang Mateo says, at 10, we need a day one starter and a bench O-lineman. Well, that's why, Bang, I'm with the idea of still taking a lineman at 10. You know Tyron Smith's going to miss time. AVT's missed the last 2 years post-October. There's always an injury that happens. So you could say, well, they need someone that's going to play right away. We really think if the Jets were to take an offensive tackle at 10, that guy wouldn't be on the field at some point? Really? The Jets who never get injury luck are now going to have the same 5 guys play 17 games this year? Really? You really think that's going to happen? I don't. Sign Mike Williams, trade out of 10, take a lineman, get a second-round pick, take another receiver. Round 3, BPA. Could be a lineman. Maybe it's Zach Sinter, a guard. Maybe it's Cooper Beebe. Or maybe it's, Jerry Rice's kid, Brendan, in round 3. And off we go. Mr. Bonesy up next. Hello, Bones.
Jake, my brother. Jake, my brother.
How's
What's
business
up, baby?
today, Bones? How we doing?
Chilling, man. Just waiting for some. I'm hoping they don't even let Mike Williams leave the building. I think we're going to find out a little bit of what he's looking for. Because in my opinion, if he chooses to go play with Bryce Young or Russell Wilson over Aaron Rodgers, he's obviously looking for the bag and he's not looking to make a championship run. So I don't think we should let him leave the building. I think he is a perfect complement to Garrett Wilson in terms of size and what he's going to do for us on the field. And I'm with you 100%. I can't get gamble on Bowers at 10. But what's great is Joe Douglas did enough that now we can talk about it. This is great. We're all talking about who we can get at 10, and no one's just pinpointing an offensive lineman at that position. And I think if Alt or Fashanu or one of these guys who JD wants is there at 10, I think he'll do it. And if the guy's not there, I think he'll look into trading back. Because as bad as if Neighbors is there, the wide receiver thing I'm kind of open to, but I still feel like I wouldn't even want the chance. I know this sounds stupid, but I don't even want the chance to get another wide receiver and have to even consider who you're going to pay big bucks to, because you'd pay Garrett next year, right? You're going to have to pay Garrett. And then again, what are you going to have? 2 star receivers, young star receivers you have to pay? I mean, I guess we don't want to worry about that. And it's just get the talent, and go all in.
But you don't have to worry about that for 5 years before you have to start paying the guy big money. Like Garrett's going into year 3. If they took a Dunze at 10, he'd be starting year 1 of his rookie contract,
True. No, you're right. I just like you just said though. You don't think if we drafted an offensive lineman at 10, he's not going to play? Everybody gets hurt. I just want to have what? Carter Warren played. We need bodies.
I mean, they used
Max
13,
Mitchell played. We need bodies.
They used 13 combinations in 17 games on the offensive line. If they took someone at 10, people were like, "Oh, that guy's not going to play right away." Yeah, they are. Have you followed the Jets in your life? Of course, that guy's going to play. Tyron's not playing 17 games next year, so you're going to need to be covered for the 5 he's going to miss.
You can't go in to this year, especially if we don't sign Bakhtiari to a 1-year deal. You can't go in just like putting in the bank that Tyron's going to play all the games, because he hasn't missed a playoff game, but he's always beat up though. You know, he takes his licks because he plays hard, and we definitely need some stability back behind him. So Bowers, man, how many times does a top tight end work out? You know, I heard everything like Kyle Pitts and how he was going to be great, and then Kincaid versus Laporta in the second round. Like, and I still believe in Conklin. With what Conklin did this year with no quarterback play is so impressive. I think Rodgers is going to take him way over what he did this year. You know, Rodgers makes Bobby Tonyan look like a G out there. Like, what he's going to do to Conklin and Ruck, man, I don't know. I don't want the tight end. I don't want Bowers at 10. Let's go big fatty up front, and let's go Mike Williams. Let's not let him leave the building, baby. He's a talented guy. When he's healthy, he'll be fantastic. And he's had bad injuries, big injuries, not like beat up. I'm a fantasy guy, and between Keenan Allen versus Mike Williams, I feel like Keenan Allen takes so many games off. Mike Williams is always questionable, and then he plays, he only is out when he has a big injury. But he always plays even if he's beat up, and he still makes fucking plays. He still makes plays. So that's my take. You the man, Jake.
Bones, good to hear from you. No, I'm with you. Like, Mike Williams has this perception he's always hurt. He's really not. Obviously, he got hurt in week 3 this year with the ACL, but if you go look at games played, he plays. Keenan Allen misses more games than Mike Williams does. Also, the Bauer stuff to me is so fascinating because it's like I would understand it more if the Jets were just devoid at tight end. Like if this was like the offseason before they signed Uzama and Conklin, where they had nobody. Tyler Conklin the last 2 years has put up 119 catches and 1,100 receiving yards, almost 1,200 receiving yards. So if we average that out, Tyler Conklin is basically giving you 60 catches a year and 600 receiving yards. And this is before he gets Aaron Rodgers thrown to him, who's made a living of making tight ends look really good in the offense he runs. It's not a huge need. Like Tyler Conklin this year, 61 catches, 621 yards. I think you could win with Conklin. You need another receiver. And I think Ruckert could really pop off too now with Rodgers. Dan with a super chat. Mike Williams lands in New Jersey tonight, meeting tomorrow. I was told the meeting was tonight, so who knows? Chef Kevin with a super chat. He cuts the line. Thanks, Kevin. Enjoying my day off by listening to the show. I could barely move after having a crazy St. Pat's weekend at the restaurant. Love the show. Keep going, J.A. Cheers to everyone who had a wonderful St. Patty's Day. Love it. What a wild couple days for the Jet fan. And this week could be crazy too. Should be crazy. This one is from Jay. Anything new with Corey Davis? I mean, he's free to sign with anyone. I wonder what his market is. I still think the Jets could bring him back on a 1-year deal if he doesn't have much of a market, but we'll see. The report from Cimini yesterday was Corey Davis prefers to play with a team closer to where he lives in the offseason, which is Nashville. So do the Titans want to sign him? Daniel Stern says it should be tackle, trade back, or Neighbors. I mean, if Neighbors is there, you run the card up, no questions asked. I don't think he's going to be there, though. Especially, I feel validated when I see like Jeremiah and Dane Brugler say there's teams that have Neighbors as the number 1 receiver on their board. I've been saying for weeks already, when I watch both Marvin Harrison Jr. and Malik Neighbors, I don't really see why Marvin Harrison Jr. is considered like a lock, can't miss, best receiver in the class. Like I'd be good with either one. That's how confident I am in Neighbors being good. Pittsburgh Mike says, I get the sense the market for Davis is very low. Maybe that's why the Jets felt comfortable releasing him. Thoughts on bringing him back? I could take it or leave it with Corey Davis. If you signing Mike Williams would not preclude me from then still adding Corey Davis. I'll leave it at that. More calls. DJ James up next. What's up, James?
Hey, what's up, man? How's it going? I'm excited with the 10th pick. We have a lot going on. We have all the options in the world. I was looking. I think we should trade back for sure, but I also like you look at this draft class here. We got. I mean, Adunze is going to be gone. Bowers, Adunze, and Neighbors will be gone. I think Bowers would be a great fit at Tennessee, Titans or the Colts or something like that. I just don't know if he's like Bonesy said. Conklin's pretty good, and I like Ruckert. Ruckert's still a promising young player. So honestly, if we keep that pick, I think we got to go O-line. Honestly, but I would love to trade back with the Broncos, the Vikings. One of those teams that need a quarterback, get a second, and I'm a big dynasty fan. Like a dynasty, I won 3 championships this year in my dynasty leagues, and I have 3 first-round picks as well. And I'm looking at the wide receiver class. If we trade back, we'll be able to get a good wide receiver as well. I love Troy Fontaine. And my dream draft would be trade back, get Troy Fontaine or a good lineman, and then at wide receiver. Here we got, obviously we got Neighbors and Harrison Jr., Odunze, but those guys will be gone. Brian Thomas Jr. should be gone. Adonai Mitchell probably gone. Ladd McConkey, he might be available. That would be amazing. But
you wouldn't take him that high. He's
Yeah.
a late first round, early second round pick.
I'm saying with the second pick. Round pick, if we were able to get Ladd, say I'm saying
I would love that. Yeah, you trade back, get a second round pick, and take Ladd McConkey. I'm sign me up.
Ricky Pearsall, Jalen Polk, Malachi Corley, Jalen McMillan, Roman Wilson, Xavier Legette, Xavier Worthy. Sign me up for all those guys. Keon Coleman, I'll stay away from. Yeah.
I like Coleman more than most, but I don't think the Jets are going to end up taking him personally. More of your calls right now. Nick T's up next. What's up, Nick?
Yo, Jake. What's going on?
Hey, Nick.
So I don't want Bowers at 10. I agree with you. I understand a good tight end creates mismatches, but if you look at the top 3 tight ends, or top 2 tight ends at least, which I would consider Kelsey's one of them, and Mark Andrews still one of the top consistent tight ends year in, year out. They're not first-round picks.
Correct. Kincaid was a first-round pick if you throw him in the mix with the Bills, but he was a late first-round pick.
Yeah, and he's coming off his rookie year. So, again, I'm talking like consistent year in, year out, right? Like top tight ends. I can't justify. And if you look at Rodgers over his career, he's never had a Pro Bowl caliber tight end, or at least a Pro Bowl tight end. And even I think the best numbers he's had was like 60 catches with, I think it was like Jared Cook when he had Jared Cook. So you're looking at a secondary option. If you're going to do that with Bowers, it's not worth the pick. You might as well just trade down. I would be really upset if Bowers is the pick at 10.
I mean, I would much prefer a trade down if you're going to do it, because then at least I could sell myself on, all right, they're taking the big swing, but at least they got extra picks to still address receiver and offensive line in second and third round.
Yeah, and I mean, the only thing I would trade down, I wouldn't trade down for a 2, though. I'd trade down deep enough that you can get another 1 somehow.
I don't think you're going to be able to do
that. Where do you think you'd have to trade to get another 1? Like 24, 26, something like that?
Yeah, but why? But let's play it out, Nick. Why would a team give you a 1? Who are they coming up for?
I'm thinking, one of the quarterbacks might still be there, right?
Well, I think McCarthy's going to be gone by then, so I don't know. And this is a team that's in love with Bo Nix or Penix. I don't see it.
I just feel like that pick is very. I think either one of the quarterbacks might fall, like the 4th quarterback falls to 10, or a wide receiver like Odunze that someone really loves. I know everyone really likes him. I'm not 100% sold on him because I think he catches with his body. I don't see him making catches with his hands. That's what drives me nuts.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say this though. I don't see your number one scenario. Like I'm trying to play it out in my head. No way. Your best case scenario is you get a second round pick. Big fella, going to the gym. Have a good day. Show tonight. Show coming up at 4 Eastern with Andrew Fialco. Film review. The revamped, new looked Jets offensive line. All right. Some of you are going to need to see a doctor because something's going to be lasting for longer than 4 hours after you see this film review. So that's coming up this afternoon. Plus, we're on Mike Williams' watch. I just saw Schefter say that the meeting is tomorrow. He's flying in tonight. So we shall see. VR up next. Hello, VR.
Yo, what's going on, Jake? Long time no see. I think I figured out my work issue with my camera and stuff, but good to see you. Happy New Year. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Happy New Year. You don't get away with a Happy New Year on March 18th.
I don't think I've called in since then, to be quite honest with you. But I just want to make a couple of points. The first thing I wanted to say was I applaud all the Jake Asman listeners, all the Asmaniacs who are given those monthly subscriptions. For all the people who are getting these monthly subscriptions, all I ask is that you pay it forward. Join the Patreon, join the Discord. I promise you, you will not be disappointed. It's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week of Jets, sports content, all the insider, stuff from the Jake Asman universe. So definitely pay it forward, join the Patreon. Jake is the man. Everybody is in there. Let's go.
VR, you're a legend. Also, love the jacket.
Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you. Next thing, I wanted to do a special shout out for Gator Sports for his interview with you and for just giving us an inside look at your history. Appreciate the personal, insider look at your life and, answering all the questions and having fun with that interview. This is why, Jake, that we love you, because you're genuine. You're like us. You're one of the guys. You know what I mean? We appreciate you and we appreciate all your hard work. I needed March 18th to come on here to tell you that, first of all.
Greg wants to know, how was your Thanksgiving, VR?
My Thanksgiving was great. Good call right there. Real quick, I just want to say Joe Douglas is completing the assignment. Tyron Smith, Morgan Moses, John Simpson, 2/5 of the Ravens Pro Bowlish offensive line. Listen, if you play chess, the objective is to protect the king to win. All right? Protect Aaron Rodgers at all costs. That's the objective. I've always been of the opinion that you double up. You sign tackles, you sign guards, you sign centers, and you draft. I don't care if you draft them at 10. I don't care if you draft the tackle, you trade back and you draft the tackle. You have to draft offensive linemen as well in this draft and protect Aaron Rodgers. That's all I got, Jake. I'm gonna say peace. Let's go. Let's go, Jets.
VR, good call, man. I'm with you, man. Like my preference is still offensive line in a perfect scenario for me. Like if you tell me Olu Fashanu's there and the Jets like him, take him. Like all of a sudden they signed Tyron Smith and everyone who was like, we can't win games at the end of the regular season because it's going to cost us all in Fashanu. Now it's like, we're good. We don't need him. And the guy's there. He actually makes it. Now we're fine with just moving on and no longer taking the lineman. I don't buy that. I'd love to trade back and take one of these awesome linemen. It's a great offensive line class, so take advantage of the fact that you have the 10th pick. You move back, get an extra second rounder. Maybe if you can't get a second rounder, even another third rounder. And off we go. But it's so funny. Oh, we're gonna win too many games. Joe Alt, Allen's rubbing his nipples to try and get Joe Alt. Well, now Alt and Fashanu was like the consensus top two guys. There's a very strong chance that Fashanu's there and we're good. I don't buy that. You absolutely could still take him. I'm shocked at the amount of Jet fans that are like, Bowers. Like, really? We signed Tyron Smith, who you know is not playing 17 games. Morgan Moses and Smith are free agents at the end of the year. One of the can't-miss top 2 tackles is likely going to be there, and we're saying we're good? I mean, come on. I still think offensive line should definitely be in play. If Malik Neighbors is there, no-brainer. I think if Rome Odunze is there, it's a no-brainer. Even if they sign Mike Williams, I still think a receiver, if it's of that caliber of player, if they're there, I'm in. But you could still get one of the consensus top offensive linemen, and we're saying we're good? Like, we know that there's going to be injuries on the Jets' offensive line. There always is. So why not be covered? That's my thought process. I think best case, you trade back, you take Fontano because he can play guard and tackle. Honestly, Connor Rogers, who I think is as good as anyone when it comes to draft evaluation, put a mock out today for NBC. He has the Jets just selecting Troy Fontano at 10. And he's been consistent on him being one of his top 15 players. Hennessy says it's all a smokescreen for us to still take a tackle. It might be. How about trade back and still take a tackle? Now that would be good use of resources. Ricky NY, close us out, Ricky.
Hey, what's happening, Jake? You know what? I'm kind of glad that JD has put us in a situation that this is such a hard choice. It's nice to have a difficult choice because we can go any way. It makes all the sense in the world to draft a tackle, to be there, not only for insurance, but for the future as well. But there's also a part of me that says touchdowns win games. I want another weapon. I would love a Odunze. I mean, I'm leaning Odunze. But honestly, you know what I want more than anything is a player that's going to come in and make a direct impact on this team and help us win games. I don't give a damn which it is. I just want a good, solid player. I want JD to hit it out of the park with that pick. And aside from that, man, I mean, things are looking good. And like I said, I'm glad that we have such a difficult choice. I'm glad he put it in a position where all these options are available to us. It's a good place to be. Looking forward to the year. Go Jets.
Ricky, I appreciate you, man. It is a good thing that the Jets now find themselves in a spot where they have options and there's a legitimate debate. My pushback would simply be, yes, they have solidified the O-line, but there's going to be injuries. So, it's still an unbelievable O-line class. Now, we're saying the Jets should do an unconventional thing and take a tight end now. We're that sure because they signed Tyron Smith, who has not played a full season since 2015. I don't buy it. I think, if anything, you're now in a spot where maybe you don't need to take, the consensus can't miss best O-lineman. You could take the more of a risk offensive lineman if you trade back. I'm more open to Latham now. I'm more open to Guyton. I'm more open to Amarius Mims. I'm more open to a guy who's got guard and tackle flexibility like Troy Fontano. Whereas it was pretty simple for me pre-Tyron Smith. If Fashanu's there, you take him, done. Falaga's there, you take him, done. Now I think you got options. By the way, you could trade back and still get one of those guys. We don't know how the board's going to shake out. All these teams have different grades on the different offensive linemen. Lance Zierlein of NFL Network has Latham, for instance, as his number one offensive tackle. His dad used to be an offensive line coach in the league. How do we know other NFL teams don't feel that way about Latham? Dom C., who I respect and does a great job breaking down the NFL draft, he's high on Latham, as is the Buffalo Jet fan. So NFL people are going to have differing opinions as well. I think the Jets have a great opportunity here to trade down. And if you can't find a trade partner, there's nothing wrong with taking the best tackle or best receiver. If they did Bowers, he better be great right away, is all I'm going to say. VR says, do we still sign Bakhtiari? I hope so. It wouldn't shock me, though, folks, if Bakhtiari is not a signing till after the draft. How do we know we could pass a physical right now? Sean says, Smith's a one-year deal. Take the tackle. I don't disagree. Orb says, we're going to trade back and draft a hog molly. What are you, Dave Gettleman, calling them hog mollies? Good Vibe says, great show, brother. Look forward to it every day. There's a lot of shows out there that are good, but your show rocks. Keep up the good work. Go Jets. Thank you, Good Vibes. Shout out to everyone watching. Truly appreciate it. If you're watching live, hit the like button. That helps the channel grow. If you're not watching live, still hit that like button. It's that thumbs up icon down below. Once again, as Maniacs, if you're one of our now 700 members, join the bracket challenge. The link is on the most recent members only post, so you could join there. And if you're on Patreon, you gain access to that as well. That link is in the Discord. MC says, is this offseason guarantee a Joe Douglas new contract for you? No. Why would it? Why would it? They got to win, man. MC, they haven't made the playoffs yet. Joe Douglas gets a new contract if they make the playoffs.
How'd you like to play some football? Football. Yeah, would you like that? Report to the practice field tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock.
They've had a solid offseason thus far, but we need more. NYJ Maddie says, this is a playoff or bust year for both Salah and JD. They're going to make the best decision. Hit the like. From your lips to God's ears, NYJ Maddie. From your lips to God's ears. Shadow Realm says, I don't think JD could do wrong if he's signing, drafting a receiver O-line. I mean, it'd be tough to screw this up because it's such a good receiver and offensive line class. And some of you want a tight end at 10. I can't justify it. If the Jets did take Bowers, I obviously would root for him. But he better be one of the 5 best tight ends in the league instantly. Passer, playoffs is a must. That's the minimum requirement. Really, this team should have to win a playoff game if we're being honest. But the minimum requirement is to make the playoffs and end the streak this year. The Bowers debate is heating up, folks. I'm curious where most of the fan base is at. We'll have to run a poll in a future show. Someone wrote Conk getting traded. I doubt that. Derek says, who would you compare Bowers to now? I don't know who to compare him to. Kyle Pitts. Jacksonville would trade up to 10 for Brian Thomas Jr. I don't know if they would. Why wouldn't they just stay at 18 and just take the best receiver there? King Lowski does not want Bowers. Scott Wilson says, trade up for Harrison Jr. and Neighbors. Let's win the Super Bowl. I don't think the Jets would do that. I'm amazed how many people forget just Bowers, just want a weapon. As if we had not watched the Jets lead the NFL in offensive line injuries the last 2 years. Aaron Rodgers makes your offense automatically better. Your weapons automatically better. He needs more protection. That's the only thing that could derail this season. Rodgers gets hurt, and the offensive line's in shambles. Hey, let's get some love to Todd Carter. He just became our most recent Patreon member. Thank you, Todd. Make sure you join the Discord now. Gator writes in, anything to the rumors that Zach Wilson still sucks? Look, all I know is JD is working tirelessly to try and trade him.
Joe D here.
Douglas?
Yeah, from the Jets.
What do you got for me, sleepyhead?
Look, I got a deal you can't pass up. I'm going to give you Wilson, along with...
Wilson?
Huh?
Garrett Wilson?
No.
Yeah, I'll take Garrett off your hands.
Zach.
Zach who?
The QB.
Oh.
Right. Zach and we pay his salary, plus you get our 3rd-round pick this year and first next. Got to make a deal quick. These Asmaniacs are killing me on the socials.
I mean, they're trying. But after Justin Fields went for a 6th-round pick, I would not feel very good about the Jets getting anything for Zach Wilson. Unfortunately. Because I'd love for the Jets to be able to trade Zach. It would save them $5 million in cap space. Joey says, if JD kills the offseason and we don't win, does Salah alone get canned? I think if the Jets miss the playoffs, the GM and the coach are both gone. How could we say JD killed the offseason and then they don't win next year? How would that happen? ISU says, Jacksonville to 10 would give us 17 and 48. Solid partner if we get them to dance. Look, if you could get Jacksonville to give you their 2nd-round pick, I think I would strongly consider that trade back. Bonesy is a big fan of Rodgers unlocking Ruck. I love it. Hennessy says, the options are endless. Isn't this amazing? You know what they say, Hennessy Heisman? Anything is possible. Pastor says, show the data, Jake. I believe you're referring to a certain chart. A chart that seemingly accurately displays where Zach Wilson ranks amongst his peers, perhaps. Perhaps this chart is what the Wilson truthers are in denial about. I saw one Wilson truther today say, name a better QB3. That's where they have stooped to. We're now celebrating Zach Wilson for being the best quarterback 3 in the league. Congratulations, truthers. You played yourself. Today's show is presented by our friends at Copper John's Beard Company. Folks, if you want your beard to look nice and smell nice, feel nice, all the above, go to copperjohnsbeardcompany.com and use my promo code Jake20 at checkout so you'll get 20% off on your purchase with your purchase of any of their beard products. They have beard oils, they have beard balm, they have mustache wax, they have soaps, they have colognes. I'm telling you, they have something for everyone for all your men's grooming needs. If you have a beard, fellas, or you're someone who is always breaking out after you trim your beard or shave your beard, they also have aftershave. So I'm telling you, the Copper John's Beard Company has something for everyone. Tyson Allred, the founder of the company, he's one of us. He's a Jet fan. He watches the show all the time. So I've been endorsing Copper John's already for the last 7 or 8 months it's been. So it's been a great partnership. I use their products every single day, twice a day, because I'm a shower twice a day kind of guy. CopperJohnsBeard.com. Promo code Jake20. Once again, 20% off on your purchase of any of their tremendous beard products. And shout out to all our great listeners who continue to use Copper John's Beard Company. Jake20 at checkout, 20% off with your purchase of any of their awesome beard products. That's going to do it for me. But the good news is we will be back in just a little bit, 4 p.m. Eastern. Film review with Andrew Fialco. So I'm looking forward to that. Super chat at the buzzer. Will Keith Carter doom this line? Ask Eric Carter. I mean, in theory, the Jets' offensive line is talented enough where Keith Carter should not dramatically impact them. Do you worry about it? Sure. But ultimately, Tyron Smith can overcome Keith Carter, as can Morgan Moses. Tippmann and AVT are really good regardless who their O-line coach is. So I think you feel pretty good, all things considered. Would I have liked them to change the offensive line coach? Obviously, but it is what it is. It is what it is. All right. Thanks again to everyone who watched. Hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Jet fans, you guys are great. Sign up for the Bracket Madness if you're an Asmaniac or a Patreon member, and I'll talk to you guys soon. JETS, 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 Jets. Let's kind of fast forward once again to what the NFL draft could be like in Detroit in just 40-something days.
3 NFL draft, the New York Jets.
Come on!
Select Will McDonald, linebacker,
What?
Iowa State.
What the fuck? I can't believe this shit!
All
What the
right.
fuck happened?
Look, guys, I don't know how else to say this. Fact of the matter is, the team has almost no chance to win this week unless you click on the like button. Also, be sure you're subscribed to the Jake Asman Show. Let's do this. Go Jets!